Everybody, this is Bonnie Vandermeulen, Training Coordinator for Wisconsin Facets. On behalf of our entire Wisconsin Facet staff, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Our topic today, as part of our Self-Care Snapshot series, is Connecting to Our Purpose. Our presenter today is Emily Jonesberg. Emily is the Program Manager with Rogers in Health. She does trainings on compassionate resilience with the community, with parents and caregivers, and with professionals. She's also a mom of an active toddler. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Emily Jonesberg. Emily?
Thank you, Bonnie, and it's good to be with you all. I'm excited to be here to talk with you a little bit about connecting back to our purpose as it relates to resilience. I'm Emily Jonesberg, pronouns are she, hers, and I work with Rogers in education on behavioral health. I live in Milwaukee, technically based out of Round Deer, and I am getting a connection. I want to make sure everyone can still hear me. Bonnie?
Yes, I can hear you, but it keeps going in and out, so I'm getting a bit of a muffle right now. So, why don't you try and talk with us again and see if it's a better?
Great, and if we're turn the camera. So just let me know, Bonnie, if you have. I'll turn the camera off. But again, I'm going to talk with you all a little about resilience and one to use.
Yeah. Emily, I'm sorry for the trouble. Why don't you disconnect the camera at this time? Maybe that will be helpful.
Is this any better?
It is.
Better. Excellent. I apologize. A couple of technology bugs, and that is expected. In all 8 or 9 of our series, 8, I guess, of the self-care snapshots, we've been pretty smooth technology-wise, so it would be fitting that the last one, there's some additional bumps. So please just let me know if my audio gets choppy or if you can't see the slides, and we'll think of a different option.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie, for your help. I'd like to start with just a chance for us to ground ourselves in a mindful moment. So I encourage you, if you could join me in this, that'd be great. Just get yourself into a comfortable position. For me, that's both feet on the ground, hands kind of in my lap, my back against the back of the chair. We're going to just take this opportunity to recenter ourselves and calm our mind. So as you get into this comfortable position, I want you to focus on your breath. Typically, you notice this most either in your nose, your chest, or your stomach. Just bring some attention, perhaps even some curiosity to your breath at this time. And if you think it may be helpful for you, just do your best to slow your breath down. As you continue to focus on your breath, I just want to guide you through an opportunity to relax your body. So let's start up at our heads first. If your eyes aren't closed and you're comfortable closing them, feel free to do so. At least take them off that screen and do your best to relax your gaze. Let yourself feel your jaw relax as well. And go through your neck, then to your shoulders. Perhaps even let your shoulders drop a bit, roll them back. Feel that sense of calm move down through your arms, all the way to your fingertips. Now coming back to your chest and your stomach. Almost visualizing yourself relaxing in those parts of your body. Now come through to your waist area and your upper legs, relaxing those muscles. Down through your calves, and finally through your feet. If you feel even any tension, do your best just to release it and almost watch it flow through your body, down to your feet, out your feet, perhaps into the ground below you, the floor below you, eventually making its way down into the earth and being absorbed in the earth. And let's take one more slow breath. That chance to pause, it can really give us a sense of clarity. And that clarity can help us act intentionally in our movements, in our decisions, in our interactions with others, rather than reactively. And those pauses can also give us a chance to take a step back from that judging or fixing mode that our brains sometimes get into, and instead lifts our senses out of that and brings them to the moment, into this very present moment. This chance to pause alone has been shown to help build compassion resilience and fill you up. So I encourage you to take a couple throughout your day, even if they're not that long. They could be as simple as just a reconnecting to your breath kind of moment, or of course, as long as a sitting mindfulness meditation. So hopefully that gave you a chance to recenter yourself into our conversation today. We are continuing to build our skills around compassion resilience. And a reminder of our definition when it comes to compassion resilience, we see this as the power to return to a position of empathy, strength, and hope after the daily witnessing of the challenges others face in our communities and in our homes. And I truly feel as humans, our baseline is one of empathy, strength, and hope. And we get pulled away from that baseline as we're exposed to all that junk happening out in our world, or we're supporting those who also get exposure to all that tough stuff. So the more we're able to build up our compassion resilience muscles, the quicker we can return to that baseline of empathy, strength, and hope. And the more we're able to remain optimistic in our so imperfect world. As I mentioned in the beginning, we are on our 8th component of our self-care snapshot. We started all the way back in January, and we've looked at a number of things as they relate to building up our compassion resilience. Today is our final one, again, looking at connecting to our purpose. If you have interest in any of these other topics that happened in the months prior, I highly recommend you go to the Wisconsin Facets webpage, and you can register for any of those past ones, and we'll just automatically pull up the recording, so you get a chance to watch either myself or my colleague, Dr. Sarah Reed, who did the first 2 of the self-care snapshots, talking about those concepts. All of these things are pulled from Rogers InHealth's and WISE Compassion Resilience webpage. I should have mentioned in the beginning, WISE is a coalition of individuals and organizations from across, really initially the state of Wisconsin, but has expanded to across the United States, with a focus at looking at and fighting stigma associated with mental health challenges. And they are, we're part of that coalition of Rogers InHealth and a strong supporter of it, and they have supported the development of our Compassion Resilience Toolkit as well, which is, if you'd like more information beyond the 30-minute recorded sessions for each of those content pieces, there is a lot more in the compassionresilienceToolkit.org that you are welcome to explore, and it's all free and accessible online. One of the main concepts that we talked about throughout really our self-care snapshot series is this concept of compassion fatigue, which is really kind of the opposite of compassion resilience. And I like to start in this place just as a chance to ground us in a self-awareness piece, and then talk a little bit about what we're covering today and how it connects to it connects to pulling us out of this compassion fatigue path. So if you've attended any of these other ones, you know the cycle already. You know that we start off in this sell it phase, one who's very excited and ready to put a lot on our plate, perhaps has some unrealistic expectations. Naturally then that's going to lead us further along in the compassion fatigue path because we can't meet those expectations. So then we may find that we're in an irritable place shortly after that, having a hard time being creative and feeling somewhat helpless. We continue, we may start to experience withdrawal, where we just start to remove ourselves from what's around us, and we're having a really hard time empathizing with others or even feeling each other's pain. And we may stop showing up physically or mentally to things, whether it's our role as a caregiver or to work, if that's where we're experiencing this sense of withdrawal. And then finally, we may move ourselves into the zombie, which is kind of the opposite of zealot in that we are very isolated. We're still getting stuff done, but we're not collaborating with others. We're putting one foot in front of the other. We may see that we are feel that we are the only one who could care for our children, for example, or a lot of times a home example I'd say is maybe all of a sudden I feel like I am the only one that can care for the kids, that can take care of the house, that can get the food ready, that can take care of the finances. I can't rely on anyone else. And that may be a sign of me being in a zombie part of the path, because I do have other people I could lean on, but for some reason I felt I'm no longer able. And then we kind of come to this fork in the road where we get to choose, are we going to go to a place of renewal, or are we going to continue in the cycle and feel a sense of burnout and unwell? And today's topic around connecting to our purpose is a crucial component to us helping ourselves get out of this cycle. The more we feel connected to our values and we see our values coming out in the things that we do, whether that's in the way we're caring for others or in our professional life, both of those things, the more we're going to feel refueled and feel the sense of compassion resilience. So it's one of our strategies that can help us stay out of this place of compassion fatigue and or pull us out of it. And just to reiterate, this cycle is completely normal for all of us to experience. It's not a shame or blame opportunity by any means. It's much more a self-awareness. Where am I now and what could I do to help myself pull myself to that smiling cat up there in the corner by the renewal? So as I mentioned, we're focusing today on our purpose and really our ability to articulate and contemplate our personal and professional missions can really bring awareness to us. And it brings awareness to what drives us, and it allows for intentionality in our life. You may also remember, if you watched any of our previous webinars, that this also connects quite well to other things that we've talked about. All the way back in January, February, we talked about acting with compassion towards others, or compassion action steps. When we are able to feel connected to ourselves, to our purpose, to our vision and our mission, we are more likely to be able to show compassion to those around us. We're more likely to minimize our compassion fatigue. We're more likely to set boundaries because we know what our yeses are. If you haven't heard that one, it's a big part of our setting compassionate boundaries, is knowing what things we want to say yes to first, which oftentimes are grounded in our values, in order for us to know what we need to say no to. And then being able to check our expectations back to our values and helping increase our overall sense of wellness. So really something that connects to many different pieces that we've talked about over the last 7 self-care snapshots. The first part that I feel is important to figuring out the purpose, because I know that's oftentimes a hard thing to do, and it's a very big, somewhat loaded question, is breaking it down first into identifying personal values. And I always like to have an interactive piece of my presentation. So this is a time when I ask you to pull out a piece of paper or pull up a Word document on your computer and just take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 core values that are of importance to you? There is a long list of values on the right side of the slide from Brene Brown. I fully recognize it's probably somewhat hard to read, but just take a moment to pause and let yourself ponder that. What are 2 to 3 things, 2 to 3 core values that are of most importance to you? And after you've identified these, I want you to think about what are 2 examples of how you have lived your life in alignment with these values already. They could be big examples or very small examples. But I feel like if you search, I have no doubt that you're going to find probably many more than 2. But just take a moment, think about what could be 2 examples. 2 for me, one of my values is to be able to care, is family, to be able to care for my family and receive support from my family. So an example, a bigger example of how I've lived in alignment with that value is that up until 2 years ago, I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, so about a 6-hour drive from Milwaukee, and my parents and my sister lived in Milwaukee. And so I had a physical distance between us that made it challenging for me to support them and at times receive support from them. And in the meantime, I also had my own daughter, and I wasn't able for her to build relationships with that side of the family as much as I would have liked. So I made the decision 2 years ago to go ahead and move up to Milwaukee from St. Louis, Missouri, so that I could be closer to family and use or lean into this value of family and having support from my family and caring for my family more often. A smaller example is another value of mine is kindness. And I take every opportunity I can when I go to establishments or offices, if I feel someone else is approaching a door with me at the same time, I really enjoy being able to hold that door open as a sign of kindness to the person that I may not even know, but that I'm crossing paths with. So again, that's a very small example versus my bigger example of moving a couple states over to be closer to family. So think about what your 2 examples are. And once you know your values, then you can start to think about how these inform your why. And there's a great TED or opportunity on YouTube by Michael Jordan. He's a comedian, and he does a great little 3-minute blip, which if unfortunately the screen shares, but the audio does not. So I can't share the video with you right now, though I had intended. It's only about 3 minutes. If you were to put in YouTube, Know Your Why by Michael Jr., excuse me, Jr., not Jordan, Michael Jr., you would find this 3-minute clip. And it's really highlighting when this Michael Jr. asks somebody in the audience a little bit about what they do in their career, and this gentleman that you see the kind of the still of is a choir director, music director in a high school space, I believe. And he says, he shares that, and he says, okay, well, can you sing a couple of bars from Amazing Grace? And he does. Great, beautiful job. And then he goes back to him and he says, okay, I really want you to bring up this connection to tough stuff in your life. Let's say you've experienced all these rather challenging things, and now I want you to pull from that as you sing the song Amazing Grace. And it's a complete transformation of how he sings the exact same song. And Michael Jr. points out afterwards, really looking at, once we know what our why is, the way in which we do the what will most likely change. We will most likely put a lot more energy, we will feel invested in it, and we may perform it very differently just because we feel more connected to it, which is that opportunity of connecting back to our values, putting those into the what that we're doing may help us feel more connected and get more meaning out of that what than if we don't get the opportunity to see those connections. I also, in prep for this, was reading about an article, and it quoted Dr. Michael Pratt, who's a professor at Boston College. And he was reflecting on an old tale of 3 bricklayers. And when asked these 3 bricklayers who are hard at work what they're doing, the first one responds, I'm putting a brick on top of another. The second one says, I'm making 6 pence an hour. And the third says, I'm building a cathedral, a house of God. Again, really illustrating that while each of them found some sense of meaning out of what they were doing, that last bricklayer could really say what he was doing was meaningful. That meaningfulness is all about the why, not just about that what. So I encourage you to take a moment in your free time, extra 3.5 minutes, and Google that Michael Jr. Know Your Why YouTube click and see what stands out to you. And know that obviously what's meaningful to one person, it may not be meaningful to another. So just because this had an impact on the gentleman in the video, you may have other things that would bring up your why that would help you feel more connected. Once you feel like you've identified kind of where your values are and what creates some meaning for you in your life, the next part of this is to look at your personal mission statement. And I recommend you just take a moment, and we're not going to spend a ton of time here, but just start to think on these 3 different questions and incorporate them into some sort of statement. So what is important to you in life? Again, that will most likely be those values that you've identified. And who do you want to help? Then finally, how will you get your desired result? This could be a formula for your personal. You could also make a professional mission statement, or perhaps a more broad one that you feel touches on all aspects of your life. But it can be particularly helpful just to take a moment to write something down. It will help you stay focused on what's most important to you, which then, if you think back to our boundary setting conversation a number of months back, help you decide what you need to say no to if there are things that are asking of your attention that don't fit within this mission statement that you've created for yourselves. Some examples of personal mission statements. One here even written and put on a fridge: to live life with integrity and empathy and be a positive force in the lives of others. It is my mission to live a life of honesty, integrity, and unconditional love, to never lose sight of what is most important, and to make the world a more beautiful place through art and my relationships with others. And to live a centered life that sees challenges as opportunities and pauses to enjoy the moment, one that is balanced, meaningful, and well-rounded. You can see, even if I just take this Christian Joy Johnson example, the 3 main things that they care about listed at the top: honesty, integrity, unconditional love. And who are they going to impact? The broader world. And how? Through art and their relationships with others. Not only having this written serves as a nice reminder to you in the moment, but it can be something then that you post somewhere that you would see it on a regular basis to remind yourself. When we first create something, it's going to be top of mind, but as the life goes on, it could be a day, could be a week, could be a month, it's natural that we're going to have a hard time bringing this back to top of mind, which means it's going to be, we'll have a hard time applying it on a regular basis if we don't get a chance to remind ourselves of it. So I highly encourage you to put it somewhere where you would be able to see it, and then maybe even switch it up every couple of weeks. Anything like me, if I've had something posted in one spot, after a week, 2 weeks, I stop seeing it and it becomes part of wherever it's being hung. So being able to move it so it catches your attention again could be helpful. If you're also not interested in having it written out, posted, some other way to remind yourself of your personal mission, like a picture that you would see, or even a piece of jewelry that you would wear that you could touch and look at and remind yourself of, that's right, this is what's most important to me, and I'd like to make decisions in my life based off of these things that are most important to me. And I'd like to take opportunities to see the progress that I'm making and how it connects back to this mission. When I'm able to see these connections on a regular basis, that also builds up my sense of compassion, resilience, my overall wellness. So that was a quick snippet of connecting back to our purpose and some strategies to use to help remind you to do so. I love this Maya Angelou quote, my opportunity to end with this: my mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Beautiful way to end, and a great example yet of another personal mission statement that has been a nice inspirational one to me in many of spaces. So I want to thank you all for being with me with this brief moment and a chance to connect, to talk compassion resilience. If you haven't seen some of our other ones, I highly encourage you to check them out. And I just want to thank those of you who have been able to attend several of ours for being part of this self-care snapshot series. If we have any questions, I'll pause and turn over to Bonnie to ask any of those before we close out today.
Actually, we do have one question, Emily, at this time, and the person is saying that I'd like very much to be able to connect to my purpose, but it seems like everything continues to get in the way. Do you have any ideas?
Let's see, top of mind. I mean, when I have felt that way, I've taken a pause and I've done one of two things. One is I've looked at the things that have been pulling my time and energy, and I've asked myself, can I change any of these things? Can I stop doing them? Can I do them in a different manner? And sometimes there are. Sometimes there's chances to do that and say, yep, you know what? I am saying yes to this thing I don't have to say yes to, and I'd like to stop saying yes to it, or at least stop saying yes to it so frequently. And then obviously there's going to be things that no, we have to continue to do, even if they feel like they're not filling us up. And then I try my best to shift my perspective and think about what, if anything, in this situation could connect back to my values or things that are important to me. Can I find something, some nugget in this? And when I'm able to shift and at least pull out one piece, that component that I don't feel I have control over changing, I still need to do, but that component feels like it drains on me less because I've worked on shifting my perspective a bit. And I think I talk more about that in the locus of control self-care snapshot too. So if you'd love to check that one out, maybe there's some additional pieces that I mentioned there that I'm not bringing to mind now. But I think that would be a big one, is figuring out what I could say no to that I'm not saying no to now. And then if the things I have to continue to say yes to that aren't filling me up, how do I shift my perspective a bit so they feel less overwhelming and draining and more connected to my purpose?
Well, thank you for that answer, Emily. I do have another comment. That person is saying thank you for the series. They felt that today went really pretty fast, and we could have used another 30 minutes to go through some of the information because there's lots that's included. But we would like to take this opportunity from Facets to thank you and Rogers in Health for your series. We are very pleased to be able to partner with you. And for those of you that are still on the webinar with us, please be watching for our 2022 calendar that'll be coming your way shortly. And Rogers in Health is going to be partnering with us again in another area that we're excited about. And it's going to be an Up to Me curriculum. So we're excited about that collaboration as well again. So again, Emily, thank you so very much. And thank you for all of the people who attended the webinar today. This will conclude our webinar. Please be reminded that we have over 100 scheduled trainings and webinars from WI Facets. And please check our website calendar and register for any of those upcoming trainings that might be of interest to you. And also please watch for the short evaluation that will be coming your way after the live presentation today. Again, thank you all for your participation. And Emily, thank you so very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Bonnie. Take care.